Have you ever walked into a room and noticed people turning their heads, but dismissed it as coincidence? Have you ever received compliments but brushed them off, thinking people were just being nice? What if I told you that you might be far more attractive than you give yourself credit for? What if the signs have been there all along, but you've been too modest, too self-critical, or too busy to notice them? In a world where we're constantly bombarded with unrealistic beauty standards, filtered photos, and carefully curated social media feeds, it's easy to lose sight of our own unique appeal. We compare ourselves to others, focus on our perceived flaws, and forget that true attractiveness goes far beyond what meets the eye. But here's the truth. Attractiveness isn't just about having perfect features or fitting into society's narrow definition of beauty. It's a complex combination of confidence, energy, presence, and authenticity that radiates from within. Today, we're going to explore 5 powerful signs that you are a sexually attractive woman, even if you don't see it yourself. These aren't superficial markers or fleeting trends. These are deep, meaningful indicators that reveal the magnetic quality you possess. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll start seeing yourself in a completely different light. You'll begin to recognize the power you hold, the impact you make, and the undeniable allure that makes you irresistibly attractive. Before we dive deep into these transformative insights, I want to ask you for a small favor. If you find value in this content, if these words resonate with you, or if you learn something that shifts your perspective, please take a moment to show your support. Hit that like button to help this message reach more women who need to hear it. Drop a comment below sharing which sign resonates with you most, or tell us about a time you realized your own attractiveness. Share this video with the women in your life who need this reminder, because every woman deserves to know her worth. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss content that empowers, uplifts, and transforms. For those who really want to support this channel and help us create more content like this, consider leaving a super thanks. Your support means everything and allows us to continue spreading these important messages. Now let's dive into the 5 signs that prove you're more attractive than you think. The first sign that you're a sexually attractive woman, even if you don't realize it, is that people genuinely want to be around you. They seek out your company, they light up when you enter a room, and they seem disappointed when you have to leave. Now, you might think this is just about being friendly or having good social skills, but it goes much deeper than that. This is about an energy you carry, a presence that draws people in like a magnet. Think about it for a moment. When someone is truly attractive, not just physically, but holistically, they create an atmosphere that others want to be part of. It's not about being loud or being the center of attention. In fact, some of the most attractive women are quiet and understated. But there's something about their essence, their aura, their way of being that makes people feel good. They make others feel seen, heard, and valued. They have this incredible ability to make whoever they're talking to feel like they're the most important person in the room. You might notice that people go out of their way to talk to you. They remember small details about previous conversations you've had. They ask for your opinion on things. They invite you to events and seem genuinely happy when you say yes. Colleagues might find excuses to stop by your desk. Friends always want you in the group chat. Strangers strike up conversations with you in coffee shops, at the gym, or while waiting in line. At first, you might dismiss these interactions as random or think people are just being polite. But when it happens consistently, when it's a pattern throughout your life, it's a clear sign of your attractiveness. This desire to be near you isn't just about what you look like. Sure, physical appearance might be what initially catches someone's eye, but it's your energy that keeps them there. It's the way you make people feel. There's a concept in psychology called emotional contagion, which describes how emotions can transfer from one person to another. Attractive women often carry positive emotional energy that others want to catch. You might be someone who laughs easily, who finds joy in small moments, who approaches life with curiosity and openness. This emotional generosity is incredibly attractive because in a world full of stress, negativity, and chaos, people crave those who bring light. But here's where it gets interesting. Many attractive women don't recognize this sign because they're humble. They think, oh, people are just friendly, or they assume everyone has this same experience. They don't realize that not everyone has people consistently wanting to be in their orbit. Some people struggle to make connections. Some people are frequently overlooked or forgotten. Some people have to work hard just to be included. But you, people naturally gravitate toward you. They remember you. They think about you when you're not there. They mention you to others. They feel a pull toward your presence. There's also a romantic dimension to this. You might notice that you receive more attention from potential romantic partners than you realize. Maybe someone is always finding reasons to text you. Maybe that person at work brings you coffee without you asking. Maybe friends frequently try to set you up with people they know. Maybe when you're in relationships, your partner's friends comment on how lucky your partner is. These aren't coincidences. These are reflections of your attractiveness that you might be downplaying or not fully acknowledging. Consider also the quality of the attention you receive. Attractive women often find that people don't just want to be around them superficially. People open up to them. They share their dreams, their fears, their secrets. They seek advice and guidance. They want deeper connections. This happens because attractiveness creates a sense of trust and safety. When you're truly attractive, people feel comfortable being vulnerable around you because they sense your authenticity, your non-judgment, and your capacity for understanding. Another dimension of this first sign is how people behave when you're in a group setting. You might notice that when you speak, people actually listen. They don't interrupt. They lean in. They ask follow-up questions. They reference things you said later in the conversation. In meetings, your ideas are taken seriously. In social gatherings, conversations tend to orbit around you. Not because you're dominating the space, but because people are genuinely interested in what you have to say and how you see the world. You might also observe that people mirror your energy. When you're excited, they get excited. When you're calm, they feel more relaxed. When you share a passion for something, others suddenly become interested in it too. This mirroring isn't manipulation on your part. It's a natural response to attractive energy. People want to sync with you because being in your frequency feels good. Here's another subtle but powerful indicator. People remember you. Not just your name, but you as a person. They remember stories you told, jokes you made, opinions you shared. They remember how you made them feel. You might run into someone you met briefly months or years ago, and they light up with recognition and recall specific details about your interaction. Meanwhile, you might barely remember them, not because you're unkind, but because for you, making connections is so natural and frequent that they all blend together. For them, meeting you was memorable. For you, it was just another day. There's also the phenomenon of people advocating for you when you're not in the room. Your name comes up when opportunities arise. People recommend you for jobs, introduce you to potential romantic partners, invite you to exclusive events, or mention you when certain topics come up. They become unofficial ambassadors for you because they've been so positively impacted by knowing you that they want others to experience it too. This is one of the most powerful forms of attractiveness because it shows that your impact extends beyond your immediate presence. Now, if you're recognizing yourself in this description, you might still be skeptical. You might think, but I'm just being myself. I'm not doing anything special. And that's exactly the point. True attractiveness isn't about trying or performing. It's about being authentically you in a way that resonates with others. It's about having qualities that make people feel good, whether that's warmth, humor, intelligence, creativity, passion, or kindness. You're not calculating these interactions or manipulating people into liking you. You're simply existing as yourself, and that self happens to be magnetic. Some women struggle to accept this sign because they have low self-esteem or past experiences that taught them they weren't enough. Maybe you grew up being told you were too much or not enough. Maybe you were bullied or excluded. Maybe you've been rejected or hurt. These experiences can create a lens through which you interpret the world, causing you to minimize or dismiss evidence of your attractiveness. You might think people want to be around you for other reasons, like what you can do for them, rather than who you are. But I want you to challenge that narrative. Look at the evidence objectively. Look at the patterns. Look at how consistently people seek you out, remember you, and want to maintain connections with you. Another reason you might not recognize this sign is comparison. You might look at someone else who seems to get more attention and think, well, I'm not as attractive as her. But attractiveness isn't a competition or a zero-sum game. Different people are attracted to different qualities. Your unique combination of traits appeals to your specific audience, and that's perfect. You don't need to be attractive to everyone. The fact that people genuinely want to be around you is what matters. There's also the possibility that you're so used to this experience that you don't realize it's not universal. If you've always had people wanting to spend time with you, you might think that's just how life works for everyone. You might not understand that some people struggle with loneliness, that some people rarely receive invitations, that some people feel invisible or forgotten. Your normal isn't everyone's normal. And the fact that your normal includes people consistently wanting your company is a huge indicator of your attractiveness. Let me share something else that's important to understand. The type of attention you receive is also telling. Attractive women often get attention from a wide variety of people across different ages, genders, and backgrounds. It's not just one demographic that's drawn to you. Young and old, men and women, extroverts and introverts, people from different cultures and walks of life, all seem to find something appealing about you. This diversity of attraction suggests that what you offer transcends specific preferences and taps into something more universal and deeply human. Pay attention also to how people describe you to others. When someone introduces you or talks about you, what words do they use? Do they say things like, "You're going to love her," or "She's amazing," or "Wait until you meet her"? Do they smile when they talk about you? Do they emphasize not just what you do, but who you are? These descriptions reveal how people perceive your attractiveness, and often others can see our appeal more clearly than we can see it ourselves. Consider also the energy of your interactions. When you're talking to someone, do you notice that the conversation flows easily? Do you find that people disclose personal information quickly? Do you notice that people seem more animated, more engaged, more present when they're with you? These are all signs that your presence has a positive, attractive effect. People don't usually open up to or engage deeply with people they don't find attractive in some way. Attractiveness creates a safe space for authentic connection. One more dimension to explore. How do people react when they see you after a long time apart? Do they seem genuinely happy? Do they hug you warmly? Do they immediately want to catch up? Do they say things like, "I've been thinking about you," or "I missed you"? The enthusiasm people show when reconnecting with you is a direct reflection of the positive imprint you left on them. If you were forgettable or ordinary, they wouldn't react this way. The fact that they do shows that you made an impact, that you mattered, that you were attractive enough to be missed. Before we move to the second sign, take a moment to reflect on your own life. Think about your friendships, your work relationships, your family dynamics, and your romantic connections. Look for these patterns. Notice how people respond to you. Pay attention to invitations you receive, messages people send, and the effort others make to stay connected with you. If you're seeing these signs consistently, acknowledge them. Let yourself recognize that yes, you are someone people want to be around. Yes, you are attractive. And no, it's not arrogance or vanity to acknowledge this truth about yourself. The second sign that you're a sexually attractive woman is that you receive compliments and attention, but you tend to dismiss or deflect them. This might seem counterintuitive at first. You might think, how can receiving compliments be a sign if I don't believe them? But that's exactly the point. The fact that you're receiving these compliments means others see your attractiveness clearly. The fact that you dismiss them says more about your self-perception than it does about reality. Let's break this down. How often do people compliment you? And I'm not just talking about the occasional nice dress comment. I'm talking about deeper, more meaningful compliments. People telling you you're beautiful, stunning, gorgeous. People commenting on your smile, your eyes, your energy. People saying things like you light up a room, or you're so charismatic, or there's something special about you. Colleagues praising not just your work, but how you present yourself. Friends telling you they admire you or wish they had your confidence. Romantic interests expressing how attracted they are to you. Now here's the critical part. When you receive these compliments, what do you do with them? Do you brush them off? Do you say things like, "Oh no, I just got lucky," or "I'm not really," or "You're just being nice"? Do you deflect by complimenting the other person back? Do you change the subject quickly? Do you feel uncomfortable and want the attention to shift away from you? Do you minimize your qualities by pointing out your flaws? If any of this sounds familiar, you're demonstrating a classic pattern of attractive women who don't fully recognize their own appeal. This dismissive response comes from several places. Sometimes it's about humility and not wanting to appear conceited or arrogant. We're often socialized, especially as women, to be modest, to not take up too much space, to not claim our power or beauty too boldly. We're taught that accepting compliments graciously might make us seem full of ourselves. So we learn to deflect, to minimize, to redirect attention away from our positive qualities. But here's what we don't realize. When we constantly reject compliments, we're actually rejecting reality. We're telling people who genuinely see our attractiveness that they're wrong, that their perception is flawed, that what they clearly observe isn't true. Sometimes this dismissiveness comes from insecurity and self-doubt. You might have internalized critical voices from your past. Maybe a parent, teacher, or peer made you feel you weren't enough. Maybe you've been hurt or rejected, and that pain created a story that you're not attractive. Maybe you compare yourself to others and focus on ways you don't measure up rather than celebrating what makes you unique. These internal narratives become so strong that even when external evidence contradicts them, you can't accept it. The compliments feel false or exaggerated because they don't match your self-image. There's also something called imposter syndrome, which many attractive women experience. You might feel like you're fooling people somehow, like they're seeing something that isn't really there, like eventually they'll discover the truth about you. So when someone compliments your attractiveness, you think they're mistaken or that they're seeing an illusion you've created. You discount their opinion because you believe they don't know the real you. But here's the reality. People generally aren't wrong about what they perceive. If multiple people, across different contexts and relationships, are telling you you're attractive, they're reflecting an objective truth about how you present to the world. Another fascinating aspect of this sign is that you might receive different types of compliments than you realize are connected to attractiveness. Sometimes people don't say you're beautiful directly. Instead, they compliment your energy, your vibe, your presence. They say things like, "You have such a positive energy," or "There's something magnetic about you," or "You make everything more fun." These are actually compliments about your attractiveness. But because they're not explicitly about your physical appearance, you might not categorize them that way. You might think they're just being friendly or commenting on your personality. But attractiveness is holistic. It includes how you make people feel, the energy you bring, and the presence you command. When people compliment these qualities, they're recognizing your overall attractiveness. Let's talk about social media for a moment, since it's such a big part of modern life. You might post a photo and receive numerous likes, comments, and compliments. But instead of accepting that people genuinely find you attractive, you might tell yourself it's just the lighting, the filter, the angle, or the fact that people feel obligated to like their friends' posts. You might scroll past all the positive comments and focus on the one critical or negative comment, or the fact that you didn't get as many likes as someone else. This is your mind protecting you from vulnerability, but it's also preventing you from accepting the truth of your attractiveness. In real-life situations, you might notice that strangers give you compliments. The barista comments on your smile. The person at the gym says you have great energy. A stranger on the street tells you you're beautiful. But you dismiss these too. You think they're just trying to be nice, or they want something from you, or they say that to everyone. But the truth is, most people don't go out of their way to compliment strangers. When they do, it means something genuinely caught their attention. It means they found you attractive enough that they felt compelled to express it, despite the social awkwardness that can come with complimenting someone you don't know. There's also a pattern where attractive women receive compliments in professional settings but don't recognize them as related to attractiveness. Maybe someone says you have great stage presence during presentations. Maybe clients specifically request to work with you. Maybe you get feedback that you're very engaging or charismatic. You might attribute this entirely to your professional skills, and while those certainly matter, your attractiveness plays a role too. People respond positively to attractive energy. They want to be around it, work with it, and engage with it. Your professional success might be partially driven by your attractiveness, but you don't give yourself credit for that dimension. Let me share something crucial. The frequency and consistency of compliments matter. If you receive compliments regularly from different people in different contexts, that's not coincidence. That's pattern. That's data. That's evidence. One person might have idiosyncratic taste. One compliment might be polite social convention. But when you're consistently being told you're attractive, beautiful, magnetic, engaging, or special, That's the universe holding up a mirror and showing you the truth. Your job is to look at that mirror without flinching, without adding distortions, without telling yourself the mirror is lying. Another dimension of this sign is how people compliment you even when you feel you're not at your best. You might have days where you're wearing sweatpants, no makeup, hair in a messy bun, and you run into someone who says you look great. Or you might be having an emotional day, feeling vulnerable or raw, and someone tells you there's something beautiful about your authenticity. These compliments are especially significant because they're not about superficial presentation. They're about the essential you, the attractiveness that exists regardless of effort or circumstances. When people find you attractive, even when you're not trying, that's when you know it's real. Consider also the compliments you receive about specific features or qualities. Maybe people always comment on your eyes, saying they're captivating or expressive. Maybe they mention your smile and how it lights up your face. Maybe they talk about your voice, your laugh, your hands, your posture, your style. Each of these repeated compliments is highlighting something about you that others find attractive. But you might focus on the features nobody mentions and assume those are your flaws, rather than celebrating the features that people consistently praise. There's something called the spotlight effect, where we overestimate how much others notice our flaws because we're so focused on them ourselves. You might be worried about a specific insecurity, like your nose or your weight or your skin. You think everyone notices and judges these things. But the reality is most people don't notice or care about your perceived flaws. What they notice and remember is your overall attractiveness, your appealing qualities, the things that draw them to you. The compliments you receive reflect what people actually see, not what you fear they see. Let's address another important point. Some women dismiss compliments because they feel like attractiveness shouldn't matter, like it's superficial or unimportant compared to other qualities like intelligence or kindness. While it's true that character matters more than appearance in the grand scheme of things, there's no reason to reject your attractiveness. You can be both intelligent and attractive. You can be both kind and magnetic. These qualities aren't mutually exclusive. In fact, when they combine, they create a particularly powerful form of attractiveness that goes beyond surface-level appeal. So when someone compliments your looks, you don't have to choose between accepting that and valuing your other qualities. You can embrace all of who you are. Here's a challenge for you. Over the next week, keep track of compliments you receive. Don't dismiss them. Don't deflect them. Just notice them and write them down. Notice who gives them, what they say, and how specific or general they are. At the end of the week, look at your list. Really look at it. See it as data about how others perceive you. Ask yourself, if my best friend received this many compliments, would I tell her she's attractive? Would I tell her to stop being so modest and own her beauty? Apply the same grace to yourself that you'd apply to someone you love. Another exercise, practice receiving compliments graciously. The next time someone compliments you, instead of deflecting, simply say thank you. Just those two words. Thank you. You don't have to agree or disagree with the compliment. You don't have to return it. You don't have to explain or justify anything. Just acknowledge that the person shared their genuine perception with you and thank them for it. Notice how it feels to let a compliment land without batting it away. Notice if it feels uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is just unfamiliarity, not truth. With practice, receiving compliments will feel more natural. One more dimension to consider: the source of your compliments. Are they coming from people whose opinions you respect? Are they coming from people who have nothing to gain by flattering you? Are they coming from people who are generally honest and straightforward? When compliments come from reliable sources, especially sources who know you well and see you in multiple contexts, they carry particular weight. Your close friends, your family members who want the best for you, your mentors, your long-term partners, these people know you deeply. When they tell you you're attractive, they're not seeing a superficial facade. They're seeing the real you, and they find that real you genuinely attractive. Before we move to the third sign, I want you to do something for yourself. Think about the last time someone gave you a meaningful compliment about your attractiveness. Maybe it was yesterday, last week, or last month. Really remember that moment. Remember who said it, what they said, and how they looked at you when they said it. Now, instead of immediately going to your default dismissive response, try something different. Try believing them. Try accepting that they were sharing their genuine perception. Try allowing yourself to feel the warmth of being seen and appreciated. Try owning just for a moment that yes, you are attractive. See how that feels. See if a part of you knows it's true. The third sign that you're a sexually attractive woman is that people are nervous around you, especially when they first meet you or when they're attracted to you. This might surprise you because you might think of yourself as approachable and friendly, and you probably are. But there's a specific kind of nervousness that attractive women inspire, and if you know what to look for, you'll start recognizing it everywhere in your interactions. Think about it this way. When someone encounters attractiveness, it affects them physiologically. Their heart rate might increase. They might feel a flutter of anxiety or excitement. They might become hyper-aware of themselves, suddenly worried about how they look, what they're saying, whether they're making a good impression. This isn't about fear. It's about being in the presence of something or someone compelling, someone who matters, someone whose opinion suddenly feels important. You might notice several specific behaviors that indicate this nervousness. People might stumble over their words when talking to you, especially at the beginning of the interaction. They might forget what they were going to say mid-sentence. They might laugh a little too much at things that aren't that funny, or their laugh might sound slightly forced or anxious. They might fidget with their hands, play with their hair, adjust their clothing, or engage in other self-soothing behaviors. These are all signs that your presence is creating a heightened state of arousal and awareness in them. Eye contact is particularly telling. You might notice that people have trouble maintaining eye contact with you. They look at you, then quickly look away, then look back again. Or they might do the opposite and hold eye contact a bit too intensely, almost as if they're forcing themselves to maintain it to appear confident. Both behaviors indicate that looking at you creates an emotional response. You might also notice people's pupils dilate when they look at you, though this is subtle and requires close observation. Dilated pupils are an involuntary response to attraction and interest. Another common sign is that people become more formal or careful with their language around you. They might speak more properly, use better grammar, avoid cursing, or choose their words more carefully than they would in other situations. They're subconsciously trying to present their best self because your presence matters to them. They don't want to say anything stupid or offensive. They want to impress you, even if they don't consciously realize that's what they're doing. You might also notice that people seek your approval or validation more than usual. They might check your reaction when they tell a joke or story. They might ask what you think about things. They might mention their accomplishments, not in a bragging way necessarily, but as a way of showing they're worthy of your attention. They might also fish for compliments or reassurance, asking questions like, "Does this look okay?" or "What do you think of this idea?" They're nervous about how you perceive them because they're attracted to you and want to make a positive impression. Body language is incredibly revealing when it comes to nervous attraction. You might notice that people orient their bodies toward you, even if they're not directly talking to you. Their feet point in your direction. Their shoulders and torso face you. They lean in slightly when you speak. These are all unconscious indicators that they're drawn to you. On the flip side, some people might create physical distance as a way of managing their nervousness. They might step back, create space, or position furniture between you and them. This isn't rejection. It's actually a protective mechanism because your attractiveness is overwhelming to them. Let's talk about what happens in group settings. When you're in a group conversation, you might notice that people direct their comments and stories toward you, even if others are present. They make more eye contact with you. They laugh more when you laugh. They seek your agreement or response more than others. This is because, consciously or unconsciously, they've identified you as the most attractive person in the group, and human nature drives us to seek attention and approval from those we find attractive. You might also notice that conversations shift or pause when you join a group, not because you're interrupting, but because your presence changes the dynamic and people recalibrate to include you. Here's something else you might experience. People remember specific details about you and bring them up later. They remember what you wore, what you said, stories you told, or preferences you mentioned. This is because you made an impression. When we're nervous around someone, we pay more attention. We encode more details into memory. The person at work remembering that you mentioned your favorite coffee order 2 weeks ago isn't just being nice. They're revealing that their interaction with you was significant enough that their brain held on to that information. You might also notice patterns in how people interact with you over time. Initially, they might be quite nervous, awkward, or overly formal, but as they get more comfortable, they relax. They become more natural and authentic. This progression actually confirms your attractiveness because it shows that they had to overcome initial nervousness to reach a place of comfort. If you weren't attractive to them, there wouldn't have been that initial nervous barrier to overcome. In romantic contexts, this nervousness becomes even more pronounced. You might notice that people who are interested in you struggle to ask you out. They might hint around it, create opportunities to spend time with you, or express interest indirectly rather than making a straightforward move. This isn't necessarily because they're passive or insecure in general. It's because you're attractive enough that the stakes feel high. They're nervous about rejection. They're worried about messing up their chance with you. They might build up to asking you out over time, testing the waters repeatedly before finally making a move. When you're dating someone or in a new relationship, you might notice that your partner seems eager to please you or concerned about whether you're happy. They might ask frequently if you're having a good time, if you like something, or if everything is okay. They might go out of their way to do nice things for you. They might be more attentive than you think is necessary. This comes from a place of nervous excitement. They're attracted to you. They can't quite believe their luck in being with you, and they want to make sure they don't mess it up. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You might not recognize these signs of nervousness as being about your attractiveness. You might interpret them completely differently. When someone stumbles over their words around you, you might think they're just nervous in general or having an off day. When someone is formal with you, you might think they don't feel comfortable with you yet. When someone seeks your approval, you might think they're insecure or need validation. You're not making the connection between their behavior and your effect on them. This interpretation gap often happens because we don't see ourselves the way others see us. From your perspective, you're just you. You're familiar with yourself. You don't see anything particularly special or overwhelming about your presence. So when people react to you in these nervous ways, you don't attribute it to your attractiveness. You find alternative explanations that fit your self-image better. But if you step back and look at the pattern, if you notice that people are frequently nervous around you initially, the most logical explanation is that you have an attractive presence that affects people emotionally. There's also a phenomenon where confident, successful, or typically composed people become nervous around you. This is particularly significant. When someone who is usually smooth, articulate, and self-assured suddenly becomes a bit awkward or flustered around you, it's a clear sign that you're affecting them in a way that others don't. Your attractiveness is strong enough to override their usual composure. Pay attention to these instances because they're particularly revealing. Let me address something important. Some attractive women actually prefer not to acknowledge this sign because it makes them feel responsible for other people's nervousness. They don't want to be seen as intimidating. They don't want people to feel uncomfortable, so they downplay their attractiveness as a way of putting others at ease. While this comes from kindness, it's based on a misunderstanding. People's nervous reactions to your attractiveness aren't your fault or your responsibility. You're not doing anything wrong by being attractive. And most people's nervousness around you isn't actually discomfort. It's excitement, interest, and the physiological arousal that comes with encountering someone compelling. You can be both attractive and approachable. You can acknowledge your effect on people while also being warm, kind, and welcoming. In fact, many of the most attractive women handle this beautifully by being gracious and putting people at ease without diminishing themselves. They might use humor, warmth, or genuine interest in others to help people relax. They create safe spaces for authentic interaction. But they don't pretend they're not attractive or act like their presence doesn't have an impact. They simply navigate that reality with kindness and emotional intelligence. Another angle to consider is how you might actually contribute to people's nervousness without realizing it. If you're charismatic, confident, and comfortable in your own skin, these qualities amplify your attractiveness. They also create a contrast with people who don't feel that way about themselves. When they encounter your self-assurance, they become more aware of their own insecurities, which can manifest as nervousness. This isn't a bad thing. Sometimes being around attractive, confident people inspires others to work on themselves and grow. Your presence can be a catalyst for positive change, even if it initially creates some nervous energy. Let's talk about online interactions too. In the digital age, nervousness manifests differently. You might notice that people take longer to respond to your messages, as if they're carefully crafting their replies. They might use more emojis or punctuation than normal, trying to convey warmth and interest. They might double text or follow up to make sure you saw their message. They might be more responsive to you than to others, replying quickly and engaging thoroughly. These digital behaviors reflect the same nervous attraction that happens in person. Consider also how people talk about you to others. You might hear through the grapevine that someone said they found you intimidating or hard to approach. Your first instinct might be to feel bad about this, to think you need to be less of something. But reframe it. What they're usually saying is that you're so attractive that they felt nervous or inadequate. They're externalizing their own internal response to your attractiveness by calling you intimidating. It's not actually about your behavior. It's about their reaction to your presence. Here's a practical way to start noticing this sign in your life. Pay attention to first meetings and initial interactions. Watch for the subtle signs of nervousness we've discussed. Notice fidgeting, laughter patterns, eye contact behavior, and how carefully people choose their words. Notice if people seem to relax over time as they get more comfortable with you. Start seeing these patterns for what they are. Evidence that your presence creates an emotional response, that you affect people, that you're attractive in a way that matters and that people feel. One more important point. The nervousness you inspire isn't always romantic or sexual. Sometimes people are nervous around you because they admire you, respect you, or want to be your friend. Your attractiveness as a whole person, not just as a romantic prospect, can create this response. Someone might be nervous when first meeting you at a networking event because they're impressed by your professional reputation. Someone might be nervous when you're their new colleague because they've heard good things about you. Someone might be nervous when you join their friend group because they want you to like them.
All of these nervous responses ultimately stem from the fact that you matter to people quickly because of your attractive qualities.
Before we move to the fourth sign, I want to emphasize something crucial. The nervousness you inspire is not something to fix or eliminate. It's not a problem. It's information. It's feedback about the impact you have. Instead of trying to minimize yourself to make others comfortable, embrace who you are. The right people will move through their initial nervousness and form genuine connections with you. The connections that result from pushing through that nervous attraction are often deeper and more meaningful because both people had to be a bit brave to get there. The fourth sign that you're a sexually attractive woman is that you have options. This means that romantically, socially, and professionally, doors open for you more easily than you might realize. You have choices, opportunities, and possibilities that not everyone experiences. But here's the thing, you might not recognize these as signs of attractiveness because you might take them for granted. Assume everyone has the same experience, or not fully appreciate the range of options available to you. Let's start with romantic options. You might have multiple people expressing interest in you at any given time. This doesn't necessarily mean you're being pursued aggressively or inappropriately. It might be subtle. A former partner reaches out occasionally to see how you're doing. A friend has made it clear they'd be interested in something more if you were open to it. Someone at work or in your social circle has dropped hints about wanting to take you out. Someone you matched with online is consistently engaging with you. An acquaintance from the past resurfaces and expresses regret about not making a move when they had the chance. When you're single, you don't struggle to meet potential partners. When you're in a relationship, you still notice that interest from others doesn't completely stop. Now, you might think this is normal. You might assume everyone has people interested in them, but the reality is quite different. Many people struggle to find even one person who's genuinely interested. Many people go long periods without romantic attention. Many people have to work very hard, put themselves out there repeatedly, and face a lot of rejection before finding someone who's mutually interested. The fact that you have multiple options, even if you're not pursuing them all, is a significant sign of your attractiveness. You might also notice that when you are interested in someone, the attraction is often mutual. You don't spend a lot of time pining after people who don't like you back. You don't often find yourself in unrequited situations. Instead, when you develop feelings for someone, there's a good chance they're feeling something similar. This might seem like coincidence or luck, but it's actually a reflection of your attractiveness. You're able to attract the people you're attracted to, which is something many people struggle with. They might only be able to attract people they're not interested in, while the people they want don't want them back. You don't have that problem to the same degree. Let's talk about social options. You probably receive frequent invitations to events, gatherings, and activities. People want you at their parties, their dinners, their trips, their celebrations. You might be included in multiple friend groups or social circles. You might have more social commitments than you can reasonably accept, often having to choose between multiple things happening at the same time. You might find that people are willing to adjust plans to accommodate your schedule because they really want you there. Again, you might think this is normal, but it's not. Many people struggle to get invited to things. Many people feel left out or forgotten. Many people have to work hard to maintain friendships and social connections. The fact that people actively want you in their social spaces, that they seek you out, that they make effort to include you, reflects your social attractiveness. People enjoy being around you. You add value to social situations. Your presence makes things better, more fun, more meaningful. Professionally, you might have more opportunities than you realize. Maybe you've received job offers you didn't even apply for. Maybe you've been recruited or headhunted. Maybe you've advanced in your career relatively smoothly, with people advocating for you, mentioning your name for promotions, or wanting you on their team. Maybe clients specifically request to work with you. Maybe you find it easier to network and make professional connections than you think is normal. Maybe people remember you after meeting you briefly at a conference or event and follow up with opportunities. You might attribute all of this to your skills, work ethic, or credentials, and those certainly matter. But attractiveness plays a role too, even in professional contexts. People want to work with people they find attractive, not just physically, but holistically. Attractive energy makes you memorable, makes people want to help you, makes them think of you when opportunities arise. Your professional options are partly a reflection of your competence, but they're also a reflection of your overall attractiveness as a person. Here's where it gets interesting. Having options can actually make you less aware of your attractiveness because choice becomes normal for you. When you've always had multiple people interested in you romantically, multiple social invitations, multiple professional opportunities, you might not understand how rare that is. You might think everyone lives this way. You might not appreciate that for many people, getting one genuine romantic interest, one good friend group, or one solid job opportunity feels like a huge victory. Your abundance of options is evidence of your attractiveness, but the very fact that you have this abundance can blind you to its significance. Another dimension of this sign is that you can be selective. You don't have to say yes to every option. You can have standards and preferences. You can turn down romantic prospects who don't meet your criteria. You can decline social invitations that don't appeal to you. You can be choosy about professional opportunities. This selectivity is only possible because you have enough options that declining one doesn't mean missing out entirely. People with fewer options often feel pressure to accept whatever comes their way because they're not sure when or if another opportunity will come. Your ability to be discerning is a luxury that comes from attractiveness. You might also notice that when you do make a choice, whether that's pursuing a romantic relationship, accepting a job, or committing to a social group, people seem happy and even excited that you chose them. They feel lucky. They might express gratitude or disbelief that you picked them out of your various options. They recognize, even if you don't fully, that you had choices and that your choice of them is meaningful. This response from others is another indicator of your attractiveness because it shows that people are aware you're desirable and could have chosen differently. Let's address something important. Having options can actually create its own challenges, which might prevent you from recognizing this as a sign of attractiveness. You might struggle with decision fatigue, feeling overwhelmed by choices. You might worry about making the wrong choice and missing out on something better. You might feel guilt about turning people down or disappointing them. You might actually wish sometimes that you had fewer options because then decisions would be easier. These challenges are real, but they're also problems that stem from privilege, from the privilege of attractiveness. The fact that you're dealing with these issues rather than dealing with loneliness, rejection, or lack of opportunity is itself evidence of your attractiveness. There's also a phenomenon where having many options can make you question whether any individual option is genuinely interested in you for the right reasons. You might wonder if people are attracted to your looks but don't care about your personality. You might question whether professional opportunities come from your merit or from favoritism. You might doubt whether friendships are genuine or if people just want to be associated with you for social status. These doubts, while understandable, often stem from not fully accepting your own attractiveness. If you accepted that yes, you're attractive and yes, that attracts people, you could then discern which of those attracted people are worth your time based on how they treat you, respect you, and value the whole you. Another interesting aspect of having options is that it changes your relationship to rejection. When you have multiple options, individual rejections matter less. If one romantic prospect isn't interested, you have others. If one job doesn't work out, another opportunity comes. If one friend group doesn't feel right, you can invest in a different social circle. This resilience in the face of rejection is another indicator of attractiveness because rejection only devastates us when we feel we have no other options. Your ability to bounce back, to move on, to not be destroyed by one person or opportunity not working out, reflects the underlying reality that you're attractive enough to have alternatives. Let's talk about quality versus quantity when it comes to options. Some attractive women have many options, but struggle to find high-quality options that truly align with what they want. You might have lots of people interested in dating you, but finding someone you're genuinely compatible with who also treats you well is harder. You might have lots of social invitations, but finding deep, meaningful friendships is more challenging. You might have professional opportunities, but finding work that truly fulfills you and aligns with your values takes effort. These challenges with quality don't negate the sign of having options. Instead, they point to another dimension of attractiveness, being attractive enough to have quantity, which then allows you to be selective enough to pursue quality. Consider also how your options change over time and in different contexts. You might notice that your romantic options increase when you're feeling confident, when you've made changes in your life, or when you're pursuing your passions. You might find that professional options multiply when you're excelling in your field or when you're networking actively. You might discover that social options expand when you're being your authentic self. These patterns show that your options are linked to you expressing your attractiveness more fully. When you shine, when you're aligned with yourself, when you're confident and authentic, your natural attractiveness amplifies, and your options increase accordingly. There's also the reality that some women don't recognize their options because the options don't all present themselves clearly or simultaneously. You might have someone from your past who's been carrying a torch for you, but they've never said anything directly. You might have professional opportunities that you haven't explored because you're comfortable where you are. You might have social circles you could join but haven't because you're loyal to your current friends. The options are there, latent and potential, even if you haven't activated all of them. Your attractiveness means that doors are available to you, whether or not you choose to walk through them. Let me share another dimension. Having options also means that you probably don't settle. You don't stay in situations that don't serve you for long. If a relationship isn't working, you leave because you know you'll meet someone else eventually. If a job isn't fulfilling you, you're more willing to take risks and make changes because you have confidence that other opportunities will come. If friendships are draining or one-sided, you can create boundaries or distance because you have other people in your life. This unwillingness to settle, this ability to walk away from what doesn't work, is both a cause and effect of your attractiveness. You're attractive enough to have options, which gives you the freedom to be selective, which often makes you even more attractive because you carry yourself with a certain self-respect and standards. Now, let's address the guilt that sometimes comes with recognizing you have options. You might feel guilty acknowledging that you have romantic opportunities when you have friends who struggle with dating. You might feel awkward about your social ease when you know people who are lonely. You might downplay your professional success because you don't want to seem boastful when others are struggling in their careers. This guilt comes from a good place, from empathy and not wanting to make others feel bad. But here's what I want you to understand. You having options doesn't take options away from others. Your attractiveness doesn't diminish anyone else, and pretending you don't have options doesn't help others. Instead of minimizing your blessings, you can use them wisely, treat people well, and perhaps help others where you can. Before we move to the fifth and final sign, I want you to take an honest inventory of your options. In your romantic life, who's interested or has been interested in you in the past year? In your social life, what invitations have you received and what groups want you involved? In your professional life, what opportunities have come your way? Write these down. Look at the list objectively. Ask yourself, does someone who isn't attractive have this many options? Does someone who doesn't have appealing qualities get this many doors opened for them? The answer is no. Your options are evidence of your attractiveness. Accept that evidence. Let it sink in. Let yourself recognize that you're someone who has choices because you're someone worth choosing. The fifth and final sign that you're a sexually attractive woman is that you have a natural confidence and comfort in your own skin, even if you don't think of it as such. This might seem contradictory because we've been talking about how you might not recognize your own attractiveness. So how can you be confident? But confidence doesn't always look like we think it does. It's not always loud or obvious. Sometimes confidence is quiet. Sometimes it's simply being unapologetically yourself, following your own path and not constantly seeking external validation. And here's the secret. This natural authenticity is incredibly attractive, and it's often present in you even when you don't realize it. Let's break down what this looks like. You might notice that you're generally comfortable in various social situations. You can talk to different types of people. You can adapt to different environments without losing yourself. You're not constantly anxious about how you're being perceived or whether people like you. You might have moments of insecurity, everyone does, but overall, there's a baseline of comfort with who you are. This ease translates as confidence to others. Even if you don't feel particularly confident internally, you probably express your opinions even when they differ from others. You're willing to disagree respectfully. You don't always go along with the crowd just to fit in. You have preferences and boundaries, and you're not afraid to state them. Maybe you're the one who suggests a different restaurant when everyone's defaulting to the usual place. Maybe you speak up in meetings with ideas that challenge the status quo. Maybe you tell friends honestly when you're not up for going out. These might seem like small things to you, like just being yourself, but to others they read as confidence. They see someone who knows what she wants and isn't afraid to express it. You likely pursue your interests and passions without excessive concern about whether they're cool or acceptable. Maybe you love something niche or unusual and you're open about it. Maybe you have hobbies that others don't understand, but you don't hide them. Maybe you dress in a way that expresses your personal style rather than just following trends. Maybe you make life choices that reflect your values, even when they're unconventional. This authenticity, this willingness to be yourself rather than a version of yourself you think others want, is deeply attractive. It shows self-knowledge and self-acceptance. Here's something crucial. Confidence and insecurity can coexist. You can be confident about certain things while being insecure about others. You can have moments of doubt while also having an overall sense of self-assurance. The fact that you have insecurities about your attractiveness doesn't mean you lack confidence entirely. In fact, you probably carry yourself with more confidence than you realize. You might doubt your physical appearance while being confident in your abilities. You might question whether people truly like you while being confident in social situations. These combinations are normal, and the confidence you do have contributes significantly to your overall attractiveness. Let's talk about body language because this is where natural confidence becomes visible. You probably have good posture without even thinking about it. You take up appropriate space, neither shrinking yourself down nor aggressively dominating. You make eye contact when speaking and listening. You have open body language rather than constantly crossing your arms or creating barriers. You might move through space with a certain ease, whether that's walking into a room, navigating a crowded space, or simply how you carry yourself. All of these physical manifestations of comfort in your own body read as confidence and attractiveness to others. You might also notice that you don't constantly compare yourself to others, or if you do, it doesn't dominate your thoughts or paralyze you. You can appreciate other women's beauty without feeling diminished by it. You can celebrate others' successes without feeling like their win is your loss. You can be in rooms with people you consider more attractive, successful, or accomplished than you without shrinking or feeling you don't belong. This lack of constant comparative anxiety is a form of confidence that makes you more attractive because people can sense when someone is secure versus when they're constantly measuring themselves against others. Another indicator is that you're probably willing to be vulnerable and authentic. You share your struggles, your failures, your embarrassing moments. You laugh at yourself. You don't pretend to be perfect or have everything figured out. This vulnerability paradoxically requires confidence because it means you're not afraid that showing your whole imperfect self will make people reject you. And this authentic vulnerability is incredibly attractive. It makes you relatable, human, and real in a world where so many people are wearing masks and performing versions of themselves. You likely have what's called an internal locus of control, meaning you believe you have agency in your life. You might not control everything, but you don't see yourself as a victim of circumstances. When things go wrong, you problem solve. When you want something, you take steps toward it. When you're unhappy with something, you work to change it. This sense of personal agency is attractive because it shows that you're someone who takes responsibility for your life and actively shapes it rather than just letting life happen to you. Let's address something important. Sometimes women mistake confidence for arrogance or egotism, so they actively try to appear less confident to seem more likable or humble. You might downplay your accomplishments, deflect compliments, or act unsure of yourself even when you're not, all because you don't want to come across as full of yourself. But here's the truth. There's a big difference between confident and arrogant. Confidence is believing in your worth and capabilities. Arrogance is thinking you're better than others. You can be confident without being arrogant. And when you suppress your natural confidence to appear more humble, you're actually diminishing your attractiveness. Your confidence might also show up in how you handle adversity. When you face challenges, rejections, or failures, you might be upset temporarily, but you bounce back. You don't let one setback define you. You learn, adjust, and keep moving forward. This resilience is a form of confidence, a belief that you can handle what life throws at you. And resilience is extraordinarily attractive because it shows strength, adaptability, and a certain fearlessness about life. There's also the way you handle attention and the spotlight. Some attractive women are uncomfortable with attention and try to deflect it, which we've discussed. But even in your discomfort, there's often an underlying confidence. You might be able to handle a room full of people looking at you, even if it makes you nervous. You might be able to give presentations, perform, or be in situations where you're the focus, even if you prefer not to be. Your ability to function in these situations, even if they're outside your comfort zone, demonstrates a baseline of confidence that contributes to your attractiveness. Let me share something fascinating. Often, the most attractive women have what I call unconscious confidence. They're not walking around thinking, "I'm so confident and attractive." They're just living their lives, being themselves, doing their thing. But in that very state of not trying to be attractive or confident, in that state of just existing as they are, they embody both qualities naturally. They're not performing confidence. They're not faking it until they make it. They simply are. And that authenticity, that lack of performance, is magnetic. You might also have confidence in specific domains that spills over into general attractiveness. Maybe you're extremely confident in your professional abilities, and that confidence gives you a certain bearing and presence that people find attractive. Maybe you're confident in your intellectual capabilities, which makes you engaging in conversations and unafraid to tackle complex topics. Maybe you're confident in your creativity, which allows you to express yourself uniquely and compellingly. These specific confidences contribute to your overall attractive presence. Another dimension is that you probably don't need constant reassurance from others. While you might appreciate compliments and validation, you don't require them constantly to feel okay about yourself. You can go periods without external validation and not fall apart. You have an internal sense of worth that sustains you. This independence from constant external approval is attractive because it shows that you're not needy or desperate for attention. You're self-sufficient in your sense of self. There's also the way you handle mistakes and imperfection. When you mess up, you probably acknowledge it, apologize if necessary, learn from it, and move on. You don't spiral into shame or self-hatred. You don't beat yourself up endlessly. You accept that mistakes are part of being human. This self-compassion is a form of confidence, a belief that you're worthy of forgiveness and grace even when you're imperfect. And this quality is attractive because it shows emotional maturity and self-acceptance. Let's talk about the confidence that comes from self-knowledge. You probably have a decent understanding of who you are, what you value, what you want, and what you don't want. You might not have everything figured out, but you know yourself. You've done some internal work, some self-reflection. You can articulate your values, your needs, your boundaries. This clarity is attractive because it means people know where they stand with you. There's no guessing, no confusion. You're straightforward about who you are and what you're about. You might also embody what's called secure attachment energy. This means you can connect deeply with others while also maintaining your independence. You don't cling or become overly dependent in relationships. You don't push people away or maintain excessive distance. You can be intimate while also being autonomous. This balanced approach to relationships comes from confidence in yourself and confidence that you're worthy of love without needing to manipulate or control others to get it. This secure energy is incredibly attractive because it creates healthy, fulfilling relationships. Another sign of your natural confidence is that you probably celebrate your wins and accomplishments. You might not brag obnoxiously, but you allow yourself to feel proud. You share good news with people who care about you. You acknowledge when you've done something well. You don't deflect or minimize every success. This ability to own your achievements without false modesty is attractive because it shows you recognize your value and aren't afraid to claim it. Here's something that might surprise you. Your confidence might actually be part of why you don't recognize your attractiveness. Stay with me here. Because you're confident and comfortable with yourself, you're not constantly seeking validation for your attractiveness. You're not obsessively checking mirrors, constantly fishing for compliments, or basing your entire worth on whether others find you attractive. Your confidence means you have other sources of self-esteem beyond your looks. So paradoxically, the very confidence that makes you attractive also makes you less aware of that attractiveness because you're not fixated on it. Let me share one more crucial point. The confidence and comfort you have in your own skin has likely developed over time. You might have struggled more when you were younger. You might have been more insecure, more concerned with others' opinions, more unsure of yourself. But through experiences, through growth, through challenges you've overcome, you've developed this sense of self. That journey, that evolution into someone more confident and authentic, is part of what makes you attractive now. You've earned your confidence, and it shows. Before we wrap up, I want you to reflect on your own confidence. Think about situations where you felt comfortable being yourself. Think about times you've taken risks, expressed opinions, or made choices that reflected your true preferences. Think about how you carry yourself physically and emotionally. Think about how you handle challenges and mistakes. Look for evidence of your natural confidence and self-acceptance. It's there, even if you've been calling it something else or not recognizing it as confidence at all. Now, as we come to the end of this exploration, let's bring everything together. We've discussed 5 powerful signs that indicate you're a sexually attractive woman, even if you don't fully see it yourself. We've talked about how people genuinely want to be around you, how you receive compliments and attention that you tend to dismiss, how people get nervous around you, how you have more options than you might realize, and how you possess a natural confidence and comfort in your own skin. Each of these signs individually is meaningful. But when you look at them collectively, when you see the pattern, when you recognize that multiple signs apply to you, the evidence becomes overwhelming. You are attractive. You have been all along. The world has been reflecting this truth back to you through these signs, through people's behavior, through opportunities that come your way, through the impact you have on others. The only thing missing has been your recognition and acceptance of this reality. Why does this matter? Why is it important for you to recognize your attractiveness? It's not about vanity or ego. It's about living fully in your power. It's about owning all of who you are. It's about not shrinking or hiding or playing small. When you recognize your attractiveness, you stop questioning it. You stop seeking constant validation. You stop comparing yourself to others. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You start making bolder choices. You start pursuing what you really want. You start setting higher standards for how you're treated. You start living with more confidence, more joy, more freedom. Recognizing your attractiveness also allows you to use it wisely and responsibly. When you're unaware of your effect on people, you might inadvertently send mixed signals or not realize the impact of your actions. When you're aware, you can be more intentional. You can be kind to those who are nervous around you. You can graciously accept compliments. You can make clear choices about the options you have. You can help others feel comfortable while still owning your power. Awareness doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you conscious and capable of navigating your attractiveness with wisdom and grace. I also want to emphasize that recognizing your attractiveness doesn't mean you have to change anything about yourself. You don't need to become more confident, more outgoing, more anything. You're already attractive as you are. The only shift needed is internal in how you see yourself. It's about alignment, bringing your self-perception in line with reality. It's about updating the story you tell yourself about who you are to match the truth that others already see. Here's my challenge to you. Over the next week, pay attention. Look for these signs in your life. Notice when people seek out your company. Notice the compliments you receive and resist the urge to dismiss them. Notice when people seem nervous or extra careful around you. Notice your options, your choices, your opportunities. Notice your own confidence in moments when you're just being yourself. Collect this evidence. Write it down if that helps. Treat it like a researcher collecting data. And at the end of the week, look at what you've gathered and ask yourself honestly, could all of this be coincidence? Or is the more logical explanation that I'm attractive? I'm willing to bet that once you start paying attention, once you see the signs clearly, you won't be able to unsee them. The pattern will become obvious. The truth will become undeniable, and hopefully you'll start to internalize a new belief about yourself, one that aligns with how the world actually sees you. Remember, attractiveness is not just about how you look. It's about the whole package of who you are. It's your energy, your presence, your confidence, your kindness, your intelligence, your humor, your passion, your authenticity. It's the way you make people feel. It's the light you bring into spaces. It's the impact you have just by being yourself. All of these qualities combine to create something magnetic, something compelling, something that draws people to you. That's attractiveness, and that's you. Before we close, I want to circle back to what I asked at the beginning of this video. If you found value in this message, if something here resonated with you, if you learned something or gained a new perspective, please show your support. Hit that like button right now. It helps this video reach more women who need to hear this message. Drop a comment below and tell me which of the 5 signs resonated with you most, or share a time when you realized your own attractiveness. Your story might inspire another woman watching. Share this video with the women in your life. Your friends, your sisters, your daughters, your mother, anyone who needs to be reminded of their worth and appeal. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. We create content regularly that empowers women, helps you understand yourself better, and supports your journey to becoming the best, most authentic version of yourself. Turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And for those who want to go the extra mile in supporting this channel, consider leaving a super thanks. Your financial support helps us continue creating this content, reaching more people and making a bigger impact. Every bit of support matters and is deeply appreciated. To every woman watching this, I want you to know something. You are more attractive than you think. You always have been. The world sees something in you that you might not fully see in yourself, but it's time to bridge that gap. It's time to recognize your own beauty, power, and magnetism. It's time to stop playing small, stop doubting yourself, and stop waiting for permission to own your attractiveness. You don't need to look like anyone else. You don't need to fit a certain mold. You don't need to meet some arbitrary standard. You just need to be fully, authentically, unapologetically yourself. Because that you, the real you, is already attractive. Those 5 signs we discussed are just the evidence. The truth has been there all along, so stand tall. Walk with confidence. Accept compliments gracefully. Recognize your options and choose wisely. Be aware of the effect you have on people. Own your attractiveness without apology. And most importantly, treat yourself with the love, respect, and admiration that you deserve. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being open to this message. I hope something shifted for you today. I hope you see yourself a little differently now. I hope you recognize the attractive, powerful, magnetic woman you are. Until next time, remember, you are enough, you are worthy, and yes, you are attractive, even if you didn't think so before. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.